always new, but I mean, that is clutch. It's absolutely clutch. Springer coming through one knee. And then getting it closed out. Gaussman, everyone. It was fantastic, and I'm super excited. I'm out of breath. I can't even.
We're talking about clutch.
It was a real exciting moment. I'll give him that. It was a real exciting moment. We were watching it as a family on the television, and it was pretty freaking exciting, man. I'm glad the Blue Jays are going to the World Series. It's first time since 1993, which is the year I was born. So that's kind of interesting. What's not so interesting and what's not so good is this right here. Steve McKinnon drops a not so subtle hint about an election. Here we go.
2 weeks from the budget. I think that what I'm seeing in Parliament worries me. The Bloc Québécois, who, without having even read the budget, eliminate the possibility that they will support it, and the Conservatives making just ludicrous demands with respect to the budget.
It sounds like you're worried about maybe Canada going to another election. Is that a realistic possibility Canadians should expect?
We have a minority government, but we believe we have a mandate. And when I see opposition parties not ruling out the possibility of voting for the budget, that's starting to worry me, but I think it's them that are misreading the mood of Canadians. If an election is necessary, we would obviously, reluctantly, because we don't think Canadians want an election, but election there will be. It's the opposition parties who have that decision in their hands. You'll have to ask the NDP about.
So we will not rule out an election. If that's what the Canadians want, if that's what's necessary, then we won't rule it out. And this is because they have a minority government. So the Liberal government can get stuff done-ish, but they need a coalition. They don't have enough votes. They got like 168 or 169 seats out of 172 to be able to really pass anything. And they do control the Senate, so anything they get passed would 100% just go through the Senate. This is a little scary because historically speaking, any government that forms a minority government calls an election usually within the first 18 months to try to win either more seats or just a majority government. And we feel like potentially with all the fear mongering that the Liberals have been doing and the lack of really finding a deal, or maybe he's going to wait till there is a brand new Kuzma deal that he'll then call an election and maybe it becomes more favorable for the Liberals. This is a little terrifying. It's a little terrifying, folks. Because if you thought a Liberal minority government was bad, wait till it's a majority government. It'll be really bad. All those censorship bills, everything will just get passed instantly. Won't even be voted on, probably.
What do you think of the CBC's 5-year plan?
I think there's lots of really good elements in this plan. I really like the fact that the public broadcaster wants to invest more in local news across the country. You saw some of that. Certainly, we think that more, if we can, as you know, we committed to invest more in the public broadcaster, and we believe that those additional resources will help them make sure that Canadians have access to more information, non-biased information, and more local news across the country.
To be clear, that'll be in the budget, that promised funding.
I'm not the finance minister. I don't know what's going to be in the budget.
Oh my goodness, they think that CBC is unbiased. They actually think that CBC is unbiased, and they're putting more money into it. Harry Pot smoker. Oh, mon Dieu. That's bananas, dude. There's something seriously wrong with the Liberals. I really wish that the CBC did go through a bit of a defunding process, because there's just too much. There's too much money going there. They are very clearly biased, and it's not good, man. It's not good. You got a lot of propaganda out there, and it's funded by our government.
We do also have some breaking news to bring you now concerning another key part of the Canadian economy today. There is fresh uncertainty hanging over this country's auto industry following word that General Motors is dropping electric van production at its plant near London, Ontario. GM blames trickling demand for its Bright Drop electric delivery vans. 1,200 workers will start to receive payouts. The plant had already operated below capacity since 2022, even after taking on a $1 billion government investment. The union representing plant workers has yet to comment on that decision. And moments ago, the Minister of Industry commented on the breaking news. Here now is Melanie Joly.
So obviously tough news this morning for the workers in Ingersoll for GM.
Stellantis, GM, Volkswagen, every auto manufacturer is leaving Canada and they're going to America. This is obviously devastating what's happening. How could they do this? We're going to sue them. No, you're not going to sue anybody. This is the sad reality of picking a fight with America. We saw them be friendly when he went to the Oval Office. Prime Minister Mark Carney sat next to Trump, and Trump literally said, we both have competing businesses. We both want the auto sector. We both want steel, and we're just going to have to wait and see. And now we're seeing, no longer waiting. Car manufacturers are moving to America because it's the right business move for them. I don't blame them. It's unfortunate that this is going to affect Canadians. It's unfortunate that you're going to have thousands of people's jobs that just poof, disappear. That part is unfortunate. But this was spotted from miles away. I've been calling it. I've been saying all the auto manufacturers are going to leave to go to America because there's more incentives. There's less red tape. You're actually rewarded as a business to be in America, whereas Canada, you're penalized. Taxes, red tape, bureaucracy. It's just crap. We know it.
I had a conversation with the Canadian CEO of GM this morning. I had a conversation with the head of Unifor, who represents the employees, and a conversation with Doug Ford and Vic Fideli, his Minister of Economic Development. So we've decided altogether that we would be creating a new response group because we need to make sure that we fight for these jobs, that there are new models coming back to Ingersoll, and that GM has a bright future here in Canada. So that's what I'll be focusing on.
GM has no future in Canada. The auto sector is going to solely belong to America. There's nothing that can be done about it. And this is the unfortunate reality that we live in. You can either cope and you can adapt, or you can live in the, this isn't fair state. And the Liberals right now are pandering to Liberal voters and giving them false hope. The auto sector is entirely moving to America. Deal with it. Canada has oil and gas. We have mines. We can get gold. We can get silver. We can get cobalt. We can get everything out of our ground. So let's do that. I'm sorry, but the auto sector is gone. Let's make our own refineries and let's be the oil and gas hub. That's it. That's the card we've been dealt with. Either play it or lose. And right now, we're losing. We're losing.
Surprised to see this morning the report that we're possibly going to finalize a deal in the next few days. We're making progress. I'm in constant discussions on the weekend, again yesterday, with my American counterparts. We're making progress. We're into a level of detail that we hadn't seen previously, but we still have work to do, and my objective is to continue to do that work until we get to the deal, but we haven't set a deadline of a particular date in the next week or two. We'll just continue to do the work to get the right deal. Surprise.
The right deal. Oh, my goodness. Look, Canada will not have the right deal. The right deal lies with Canada mining its own resources. That's the only right deal that Canada can do. Full self-reliance, where we extract and we refine our own oil and gas, or we have an economic merger with America. But either way, if we start to rely on ourselves right now, we're just going to get tariffed in different ways, and it's eventually going to lead into an economic merger with America. That doesn't have to mean the 51st state, okay? That's like a boogeyman term that was used during an election that Trump keeps saying to just try to, Stir the pot a little bit. An economic merger between Canada and America would be prosperous for you, 100%, no doubt in my mind, okay? It's just that the Liberals are fighting it. They're fighting it because they want to hold on a little bit longer so they can get their majority government, and it's just inevitable. Whether it happens under the Liberals or it happens under the Conservatives, an economic merger is inevitable because there's bigger threats out there. There's China, there's Russia, there's the entirety of BRICS. There's the shift off of American US dollar dependence. And now apparently China is purchasing more gold than ever to try to destabilize the American dollar. There's actual threats out there to us that we can't do anything about on our own. But we have an economic merger with America. We strengthen our ties. We bring in some American military bases to joint on Canada's soil. All of a sudden now we feel a little bit better about our position. Yeah, that's my thoughts. That's my thoughts. I could be wrong. I doubt it, but I could be wrong. Let me know what you guys think about that. Okay, then we got to take a look at Pierre Poilievre because the Globe and Mail is after Pierre. They're saying Pierre Poilievre charges ahead recklessly. This is on the Globe and Mail, a mainstream media organization. By the way, if you haven't hit the like button yet, I'd like to encourage you guys to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. When Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre leveled his extraordinary accusations of political cover-up by the RCMP, he chose a forum at odds with the seriousness of the allegations. He was not in the House of Commons or standing outside the Supreme Court. He made the claim in the 29th minute of a 32-minute interview with a niche podcast. So the reason why they're saying he wasn't in the House of Commons or the Supreme Court was because you're protected. You can make the most wildish claims that you want, but you have blanket immunity to say whatever. Like anything, you're covered. That's why when they argue in the House of Commons, you'll see like when Pierre's really getting under the skin of the Liberals, you'll see the Liberals say, step outside and say that to me. See what happens, right? That's not because they want to throw fists. That's because they're not covered under that blanket immunity. Even there, Mr. Poilievre did not preface it with anything that would suggest he was making a blockbuster claim. Instead, he just casually said that the RCMP, the Mounties, conspired to stop former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau being criminally charged over ethics violations with the SNC-Lavalin affair. If the RCMP had been doing its job and not covering up for him, then he would have been criminally charged, he said, going on to smear federal police force. But of course, the RCMP covered it all up, and the leadership of the RCMP is just despicable when it comes to enforcing laws against the Liberal government. And the mainstream media does not like this at all. They really do not like this. In fact, that's not the only article from the Globe and Mail. You have this one here, which is just, is Pierre Poilievre okay? Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre's recent behavior doesn't quite meet the threshold of an all-out spiral. He hasn't shaved his head like Britney or started running through the street naked like that guy who created Carney 2012 campaign. But look, when you're supposed to be the solemn voice of the official opposition and yet you're posting on X about how Nazis were socialists, but it's right there in their name, and trying to rewrite the history of the Freedom Convoy, he referred to a 3-week occupation which effectively shut down Ottawa's core as peaceful protest, which it was. It absolutely was peaceful protest. And talking about how former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau should have been arrested for actions he took while in office, you start to look a little unhinged. In a recent interview with YouTube channel called Northern Perspective, Mr. Poilievre said that Mr. Trudeau should have been criminally charged for vacationing on the private island of Aga Khan in 2016, and that he probably broke the law during the SNC-Lavalin too. Many of the scandals of the Trudeau era should have involved jail time, he said during the interview. But that didn't happen because the RCMP covered it all up, according to Mr. Poilievre. What actually happened during the SNC-Lavalin scandal is that the Liberals, citing cabinet confidence, failed to produce all relevant documents, thus limiting the RCMP's ability to conduct a thorough investigation. The leadership of the RCMP is frankly just despicable, Poilievre said in that interview. They really don't like Pierre, huh? This is supposed to be like unbiased media. And instead of focusing on the actual either cover-up for Justin Trudeau or the potential cover-up for Justin Trudeau, they're focusing on what Pierre said and the significance of it. So instead of just saying, well, you know, maybe he's got some validity, did the RCMP actually cover this up? Or did they play a role in this? Did it just kind of get swept under the rug because it was the prime minister, right? It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird, the spin that the media is taking on this. But that's media in Canada, folks. That is the media in Canada. And it's a little concerning. It's a little concerning because they're more concerned about slandering and attacking Pierre than they are about actually uncovering the truth, which, you know, adds to the narrative that Canada is full of propaganda.
The finance minister has announced a new agency to help fight financial crime in Canada. The initiative will be part of the much anticipated federal budget to be delivered in 2 weeks. The CBC's Janice McGregor is on this story for us. Okay, Janice, so what does this national strategy entail?
Well, a few different component parts. Of course, no one said it's easy to go after phone spammers and online scammers. These financial crimes getting more and more complex, particularly when it involves large-scale money laundering and organized crime and people participating in these activities who aren't even based in Canada. The government realizing it cannot do this alone. It is going to need the cooperation of banks and financial institutions. So part of it is going to be some legislation changing the Bank Act, requiring these financial institutions to have policies in place to protect their customers from these scams and also to mitigate the harm, like allowing people to have more control over their transaction limits and some of the other things on their accounts that sort of people have been taking advantage of. There's also some language here about exploring new policies they could get in place with respect to, for example, cell phone companies, again, to enlist them in fighting back against spam calls and fraudulent, impersonation of people. That is another way that people get fooled. Of course, a lot of them already doing this proactively for their customers. And there's a final piece here, particularly with respect to those most vulnerable to economic abuse. You think of seniors, you think of newcomers. They say they want to develop a code of conduct that will prevent people from being coerced. Of course, sometimes these frauds, this harm is done not by someone in a faraway place, but by someone close to a vulnerable individual, and it really hurts their economic independence after they get taken advantage of like that. But as you say, the centerpiece will be this new financial crimes agency. And no price tag here, even though this was billed as a pre-budget measure. Unclear exactly how much it's going to cost, but something the Liberals have been promising since 2021, the previous election campaign to this one. Why did it take them so long? Well, the finance minister today said he is finally the one who's taking this on board and going to get it done.
You need something different. This is about, if you look at the financial crime unit in the United Kingdom, or if you look at the FBI units that are doing that, you need specialized people. We'll be attracting the best. We'll take people from different parts of the government of Canada, that would be interested to join that organization, because fighting financial crime in the 21st century is something very complex.
So he's vowing to get it done, but of note, they say the legislation to actually set this agency up won't be ready until the spring of 2026. So we are a couple, some ways out from this. Nevertheless, the intention is that it would have more powers to investigate things like money laundering, online fraud, but also significantly to recover funds and really kind of take the prosecution of these crimes on board. Tyler Meredith is a former advisor to former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. He was talking on CBC News Network earlier today about how in the past it wasn't really clear whose jurisdiction this kind of an agency would fall under, and that perhaps has held back progress. But he sounds hopeful that perhaps having some money in this year's budget for it could help get the job done.
The reason why there hasn't been very effective prosecution of fraud and financial crimes in Canada is because we don't have specialized people who do it. And I think the creation of the Canada Financial Crimes Agency, as much as it has been an idea that's been floating around for a while, if this can move forward with new resources and this gets my second point, key new tools that partner with telecom companies, with banks, with technology companies, there's a potential here for Canada to make a significant leap forward in dealing with what is a problem for a lot of people.
Last week, the Liberals reiterated their promise to recruit, train, hire 1,000 new RCMP officers, apparently 150 of them earmarked to work on these fraud prevention and enforcement activities. But the Conservatives also were eyeing this in their last election platform. It'll be interesting to see when this actually comes in front of the Commons, whether the Conservatives do make it possible to get some of these things passed and in place.
And of course, Janice, the Liberals are in a minority position ahead of this budget next month. They'll need help from the opposition to pass it, and the Conservative leader is already out with demands. What are the details on that?
Yeah, bringing forward 3 demands here. I'm not sure that these demands, the nature of them, are the signal that there's a last-minute negotiation underway to get the Conservatives to vote in favour of this budget. And indeed, when François-Philippe Champagne was asked about it, he seemed to dismiss it out of hand. But essentially, the key thing Conservatives are saying they need are tax cuts, a variety of them, in different ways, and also keeping the deficit under $42 billion. No one who's been kind of spitballing how big the deficit will be, given all the sort of priority spending,
70.
thinks it's going to be that small. So pretty clear that
I think the deficit's going to be 70 billion. In fact, let's play a fun little game right now. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think the deficit's going to be. Just in the billions. Just put a number down below. Let me know what you guys think. Trudeau did 40. I think it's going to be not quite double, but I think it's going to be a lot. I think it's going to be over 70. I don't know if it'll be over 100, but I think it'll be over 70. Anyways, we'll have to wait and see. It's soon, though. It's like in a week and a bit. 2 weeks. In the next 2 weeks, we're going to get the budget. And then we're going to know how screwed we are.